If your small home feels cold, here's how Minimalist Industrial Style fixed it. We're working on an interior design project for our subscriber, Resheila. Right now, her space looks unfinished and feels bare, which makes it tough to achieve the style she wants. But we're here to fix that. We're going to give her home a stylish makeover with a minimalist industrial home. Also, if you need urgent design, visit our website at www.designburst24.com. First up, the living area. Resheila's living area measures just 3 by 3 meters. Small, right? But small spaces don't have to feel cramped. The open layout needed better zoning to define the living space, but the staircase placement made it tricky to maximize. So, how do you fix a layout like this? You organize, optimize, and use key industrial elements to make it work. First, the ceiling. Before, it was just rough, unfinished concrete, cold and uninviting. But instead of replacing it, it was enhanced with black painted beams for contrast and a white-coated concrete finish to balance the look. It adds depth and character without making the space feel heavy. Now, let's talk about the flooring. Cement-look porcelain tiles were used here because they give the way easier to clean than real cement. If you love the raw industrial vibe but don't want to deal with dusty, uneven cement walls, then micro-cement is the way to go. It gives that seamless, smooth concrete look but without the rough patches that make a space feel unfinished. But here's a trick. Matching floor and wall materials can make a space feel larger and more cohesive. So, if you have a small home, you can use the same color tone for both to minimize visual clutter. This is where most homeowners get it wrong. Using only one light source is not enough. You can use recessed lighting for a clean, minimalist look. In small homes, wasted space is the biggest problem. That awkward area under the stairs, most people ignore it. But instead of leaving it empty, you can turn it into a hidden storage area for seasonal decor, tools, or anything you don't use daily. So, your space stays clutter-free without needing bulky cabinets. A big, bulky sofa can make your living area feel even smaller, but that doesn't mean you have to settle for tiny furniture. So, what's the solution? You can choose a contemporary metal leg sofa with an elevated frame. The one used here has a floating effect, which keeps the space from feeling heavy. So even if you have a small area, you can still have a full-sized sofa without making the room feel cramped. Industrial spaces sometimes feel too rigid, but adding textiles instantly softens the look. You can use accent pillows to break the monotony of gray tones. A natural wood slice coffee table adds warmth and balances the raw industrial materials. A rug not only defines the seating area, but also adds a cozy touch. An ottoman is a great multifunctional piece, extra seating, a side table, or even an armrest. So, if you want a space that still feels industrial but comfortable, adding the right textures makes all the difference. If you want to avoid that unfinished warehouse look, adding decor and plants helps bring life to an industrial space. Greenery creates contrast against concrete textures and makes the room feel more alive. And instead of leaving walls bare, you can add framed artwork like this to add personality. So, the space still looks minimalist but not empty. A black metal-framed glass partition was installed to separate spaces without blocking natural light. Curtains can feel too bulky in an industrial home, but black Venetian blinds work better. For the final touch, a labyrinth intersections chandeliers was added. It's not too bold, but adds just the right amount of interest without making the space feel cluttered. So, instead of just relying on recessed lights, you can add a simple statement piece to tie everything together. This space was just an empty, unfinished box before, but now it's a fully designed, modern industrial home. And the key? Zoning the space properly, choosing the right materials, and balancing function with aesthetics. If you have a small space and don't know where to start, these are the tips that can help. So, which one would you use in your own home? Comment below. This wall? It's just a blank, lifeless space that doesn't add anything to the room. So, how do you turn this into a functional TV wall without making the room look smaller? The solution is balance. A black metal frame unit creates structure, making the wall a clear focal point. But if you just stop there, it can still feel flat. Backlit LED strip lights change that by adding a soft glow, making the setup look intentional instead of just another mounted TV. Now, here's where people usually go wrong. Shelving. Too many shelves overwhelm the space, while too few make it look incomplete. The fix? Industrial metal frame wall unit. It provides storage without feeling bulky and keeps the area light and open. But another common mistake? Overloading shelves with random decor. Instead of making the space stylish, it just feels messy. So, a mix of books, framed artwork, sculptures keeps it clean and visually balanced. One detail most people forget, a designated drop zone. Without one, jackets, bags, and other daily items end up all over the place, making the room feel unorganized. So a wall-mounted metal coat rack was added. Practical, space-saving, perfectly in line with the industrial look. And for the final touch, a shelf above it with strip lighting underneath, adding dimension and highlighting the wall's texture. Now, this once empty wall is a functional, stylish feature that ties the whole space together. Before, just an empty space measures 2.60 by 2.50 meters. Undefined space, no structure, no function. But now, a complete dining setup that feels stylish, spacious, and intentional. So how did we achieve this? First, the Edorazzo engineered stone and iron round dining table was placed here because it's more space efficient than a rectangular table. No sharp corners mean you can easily move around even with people seated. But chairs can make or break a small dining area. Some go for oversized bulky chairs that take up too much space, while others pick stools that sacrifice comfort. The better option? The Amisco Yasmina dining chair. It has a slim frame, so even with 4 people seated, the space doesn't feel cramped. Then, to define the area without adding bulk, a round rug was added. The beige bohemian round rug follows the shape of the table, making everything feel cohesive and balanced. Plus, it softens the hard-tiled flooring, so the space feels warmer. Now, here's a common mistake: bare walls that feel empty. The solution? A floor-to-ceiling open shelving unit. It keeps storage practical but not overwhelming, while also drawing the eye upward, making the ceiling feel higher. And here's another trick: a grid-style full-length mirror placed near the window. Instead of just relying on natural light, this bounces it deeper into the room, instantly making the space feel bigger and brighter. To keep the space clutter-free, baskets and plants were added to the side. This keeps extra items neatly tucked away while adding warmth and texture. Lighting also plays a huge role. Many people only rely on one ceiling light, which makes a space feel flat. That's why layered lighting was used here. The industrial circular chandelier keeps the look light and airy, while the 4-light water pipe wall lamps reinforce the industrial style without making the room feel too dark or heavy. Before we move on, let's check out the finished space. Moving on to the kitchen area. Before, just an empty 2.5 by 1.5 meters unfinished space, no storage, no structure, and no personality. But now, a fully optimized industrial-style kitchen that looks modern, feels functional, and maximizes every inch. So, how did we achieve this? First, the deep warm gray base cabinets were installed. Solid wood might seem like a great option, but it can warp over time, especially in humid conditions. That's why MDF with a wood veneer finish was used. It keeps the look of natural wood but is more stable and lightweight. Then, decked and sintered stone countertops were added, not just for aesthetics, but because they're scratch-proof, stain-resistant, and heat-resistant, so you won't have to worry about damage from daily use. But here's a common mistake: closed upper cabinets that make a small kitchen feel cramped. The solution? Oak wood open shelves with LED strip lights. These keep everything accessible without making the space feel heavy. And because of the backlit floating effect, the shelves don't just provide storage, they also add depth and a modern touch. Then, on the right side, circular floating shelves were added. Without these, the wall would look plain and empty. But with them, you get extra storage and a unique design element that breaks up the rigid lines of the kitchen. A major issue in most kitchens? Relying on a single ceiling light creates harsh shadows and uneven brightness. The fix? Wood beam track lighting. So, instead of a dim, flat-looking kitchen, you get balanced, layered lighting that improves both function and ambiance. To tie everything together, a wall-mounted spoon rack and compact decor pieces were added. Now every item has a place, so the kitchen stays clean and efficient without sacrificing style. Before, this kitchen had no function, but now it's fully optimized with a modern industrial vibe and a layout that works. So, if you have a small kitchen and want it to feel bigger, brighter, and more efficient, this is how you do it. Which design feature is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you need urgent design, visit our website at www.designburst24.com. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another design tips.